It's the Brad and John Show.
John, by the way, let me tell you, this is February 14th. It's Valentine's Day. This is the B block, Bravo block. And these crazy computer programmers, I've got this computer system that I use. And when I hit a stop marker in there, if I wanted to stop playing things, I hit a button and a stop sign comes up. You know what comes up this morning, John?
It's start.
A red heart instead of the stop sign.
Are you being serious?
I'll send you a picture of it. Instead of a stop sign, it's got a red heart. So those crazy computer programmers. Okay, a couple things to talk about. First off, do you want to recap this, because I'll go too long? What happened to me on Tuesday, John? What happened? Come on, you tell your side of the story. But
yeah, I'll tell. We won't give any identifying details. Brad stepped into a country club off of Mid-Rivers Mall Drive.
No details, right?
Go ahead, Brad.
I said no details, right?
Yeah, no details. And I don't know, it was, there were some hickory trees there that were a little bit old. And Brad stepped in, and he was greeted warmly by a lot of people who he knows. Brad, you've gone to so many of these chambers over decades. You have so many friends here. And in fact, some of the people in that very room are members of the Westplex Chamber of Commerce. But we could get to that later. Anyway, you got kind of a strange feeling there. It was almost like, I don't know if it was drafty or if it was a little bit windy. It was a little windy in the room. And Brad, you were having a nice conversation with a gentleman who was looking to start a career selling insurance. And a woman from the group who has a leadership position in the group asked you to leave. And I guess the rationale was because you have the Westplex Chamber of Commerce. She felt that you were maybe, she didn't use this word, this is my word, not hers, that you were maybe poaching. And she was pretty upset by that. So I guess what happens is she asked you to leave. And, there were some folks there who were friends of yours who said, no, what's going on here? We don't understand why Brad has been asked to leave. And you left. And then do you want to pick it up where the point where you got a refund, Brad?
The next morning, on Wednesday morning, I got my lunch refunded. Okay, my lunch refunded. So. And the crazy part of this was, and if there were a stack of Bibles here, I'd put my hand right on top of it. I was going to join the chamber Tuesday morning before I went to the meeting, and I got busy with a couple things. I looked, oh crap, I got to get to the meeting. So I had fully intended on joining Tuesday afternoon. Well, after getting thrown out of the meeting, I thought about that for a minute. But then when I got my refund on Wednesday morning, I thought to myself, you know what? Let's bygones be bygones. So I joined the chamber on Wednesday morning. And then Wednesday afternoon, I get a nice email from a guy by the name of Jake. I guess it's Losing, Losing. And it says on his email block, his signature block, he says he's the Director of Business Development for Cry Distributing, which is the big AB distributor out there in St. Charles, right across the street from, guess where, John?
The old Hickory Country Club.
No, right across the street.
Where? From where?
It's right across the street from the St. Charles County Election Bureau, where Kurt Barr can look out his window and look across the street and go, oh, Budweiser, oh,
yes,
beer.
nice.
He can do the Homer Simpson thing. Okay, so I got a nice letter. So, and he says, welcoming me, the staff. He says, on behalf of the staff and our board members, but maybe not the director at the Cottleville Weldon Spring Chamber.
Does he say that?
Yeah, it says right here. It says,
oh, wow, that's hilarious.
Hold on a minute. I will forward you the email, John. I'm not kidding. See, people don't believe me when I say things like this. This is honest to God truth. And the crazy thing about this is, it was interesting because, of course, I told the story to a couple people, and one person who is much smarter than I said, why would they care if you're recruiting members for your chamber? And I say, well, I guess they think it's competition. And this person said, well, there's lots of people in there recruiting members for their organizations. And she goes, what about Angel Magasano at Little Black Book? She's in there recruiting women.
Yeah,
what about
she's a staple at those meetings,
right? What about the guys who come from the fraternal organizations like the Lions and the Kiwanis? There's a lot of people in there. What about the charitable organizations? Matter of fact, there's I don't know if she's there anymore. A lady from Habitat for Humanity who's in there always pitching giving your excess building products to their rehab place, or what do they call it?
Sure, and not to interrupt, Brad, but I mentioned this the other day. Think of the folks that are there from the O'Fallon Chamber or the Lake St. Louis Chamber.
Well, yes.
It's just you go there and you want to hear what's going on.
You got people like Mike Elam, who I believe belongs to all four of the chambers. There's four chambers in St. Charles County. Well, actually, there's five if you include my new one. But there's the St. Charles Regional Chamber, which, by the way, John, that there is no St. Peter's Chamber anymore. Do you know the reason why there is no St. Peter's Chamber anymore?
I have no idea.
I was a member of the St. Peter's Chamber, and they had a wonderful woman who ran it, and then she left. I think she retired, and a dude took it over, and about 2 years later, they closed it down because guess what he did with the proceeds that everybody was putting into the St. Peter's Chamber of Commerce?
He used them for himself.
He was busy at the boat. Go get what I'm saying?
You're joking me. Are you serious?
It was a heart attack. He gambled the money away. I swear to God, this is a true story. And they went I think they went bankrupt, literally shut their doors. And at that point in time, before it was called the St. Charles Regional Chamber, it was just the St. Charles Chamber. They essentially absorbed the St. Peter's Chamber into the St. Charles Regional Chamber. And see, there's been all this consolidation because at one point in time, there was just a Cottleville Chamber of Commerce and there was just a Weldon Spring Chamber of Commerce. Now it's the Cottleville Weldon Spring Chamber of Commerce. And there used to be a Wentzville Chamber of Commerce, which is now, I think it's called Western St. Charles Chamber of Commerce, which is Lake St. Louis, Flint Hill, Wentzville, and Forestell, I think, are all that. So, and the crazy thing about it is, years ago, I learned a very valuable business lesson from a guy who was so smart, and I wish I had 1/10 of his intelligence. He says, never forget what business you're really in. And what's interesting about that is, if you go and watch the movie The Founder, did you ever see it? I'm going to say, John, don't ever watch this movie. You're going to hate it. Don't watch this movie.
You've talked about this because if you go into a dry cleaning store and you say, what business is it? Brad would originally say, oh, yeah, they clean shirts.
Right.
And the gentleman would say, no, this is a cash flow business.
Right.
And you go into a restaurant and you say, so you never forget the business you're really in.
The movie The Founder is a somewhat historical perspective of Ray Kroc and McDonald's. And there's a very key scene in the movie where a business advisor has a meeting with Ray. This is after Ray, and if you know the whole story, he screwed the McDonald's brothers. He really screwed them. And if you go back and look at history, and then he calls himself the founder of McDonald's, which he's not. The McDonald's brothers were really ones who founded McDonald's. But he gets this business advisor, and the business advisor has a meeting with him in his office, and he says, Ray, you're not in the hamburger business. You're in the real estate business. And I have heard audio tapes of him. Ray used to love to go talk to college business schools, like, people working their MBAs and stuff like that. He would tell this story all the time. I'm not in the hamburger business. I'm in the real estate business, because the interesting part of this is almost all the McDonald's, even if you're a franchisee, you may own the building, but guess what you don't own? You don't own the ground underneath it. You don't own that ground. Ray Kroc owns it. McDonald's does it. And you think about it. They have some of the most prestigious real estate. The real estate portfolio they have in the country is amazing. Matter of fact, I ate at a brand new McDonald's I didn't even know existed. There's a brand new McDonald's right off of Upper Bottom Road. If you go,
it's right by there's a Mobile on the Run. It's brand spanking new. Yeah. I saw it the other day when I was driving, Brad.
Yeah, I ate there the other morning. I think to myself, I never knew this was here. I drive by there all the time. And part of it is, I don't know who put it up, but they put a privacy fence up between the Moto Mart, which is now, it's not a Moto Mart, it's on the Run. It used to be a Moto Mart. But once again, the Wallace people bought that one out. But anyway, see, that's the interesting part of it is, the point I'm trying to make is, what are the chambers of commerce really in business for? They're there to facilitate more commerce within the area. Am I right, John?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And to encourage people to get to know each other. That's like an ancillary thing. But yeah, to encourage business. But here's the thing. It goes back to the fact that I can't imagine if I was leading a group and I had a dozen different versions of Brad Hildebrand there. I couldn't imagine taking a confrontational tone, like on the spot. Maybe it's just a lack of impulse control, or for whatever reason she chose to take that route. Instead of saying, like, after the meeting, she could have grabbed you and said, hey, I just want to make sure that we're clear. Like, you're not here to disrupt or annoy anyone, right? Like, you get what I'm saying, Brad? Like, why would you immediately take a confrontational pose if that's indeed what happened?
John, what do I do with my radio stations? I have 3 radio stations. What do we do?
You promote, and here's what, I will repeat this in case there's always people who are listening for the first time. Brad, if people join the Westplex Chamber, you're using your platform to give people a voice. They can join the Westplex Chamber for free, and they can promote their business, their service, whatever, on the radio. Like, you're using your platform to help encourage businesses to grow.
But not necessarily on the radio. See, once again, you're sort of typecasting me there.
Okay, argue with a compliment, Brad. Go ahead and argue with a compliment.
What have I done? And matter of fact, it's interesting because of the fact that if you've seen this before, I have this week I put up 2 new podcasts. I put up a podcast with Mark Mathieson. I get it. He's got an H in his name. It screws me up. It looks like it should be Mathieson or something like that, but it's Mathieson. Okay, and he's a state rep, but anybody who's a state rep knows you can't make a living by just being a state rep. You had to have a side hustle or a main hustle or something like that. He's a real estate agent, okay? Mike Elam, once again, St. Charles County, right now he's the chairman of the St. Charles County Council. He's been a St. Charles County Council person for a long time, but he's got to have a full-time gig, which is i3 Broadband. He's like one of their executive guys, stuff like that. I'm trying to help grow their business, and I use my assets, the 3 radio stations, my social media platform, even my own stupid Facebook page, and you don't like Facebook, but I've got almost 5,000, you can believe this, almost 5,000 friends on Facebook. And I know the algorithm set up so when I put something there, it doesn't go to all 5,000 people, but I promote stuff all the time. That's what I do, because I firmly believe that as the tide rises, so do all boats. Do I want my competitors, KFAV, to do better every year? Yes, because if they do better, I'll do better. And it's to the point where, do I want the McDonald's, if I'm a Burger King, do I want the McDonald's to do more business every year? Yes, because some of those people may get in the McDonald's drive-thru and go, oh, the line's too long. I'll go next door to Burger King. Get what I'm saying, John?
I get exactly what you're saying, Brad.
And sometimes you don't want a Big Mac. Sometimes you want a Whopper. You know what I mean? One of those things. Go ahead. I know you're going to say something.
No, I'm not going to say anything at all. So here's the thing. Here's my prediction for what's going to happen. Somebody with some sense is going to go to, now that you've outed them, Brad, I can't believe you've outed the name of this chamber, the Cottleville Weldon Spring Chamber of Commerce. Someone's going to go to this woman, and there's going to be an opportunity for her to give a mea culpa, and for her to say, look, maybe in that moment, I lost a little bit of impulse control. I got a little bit hyper defensive. Brad, I went to either their Instagram or their Facebook, something like that, and I saw the meeting looked like it was fantastic. There were people there from Bob Onder's office. You know, they did a lot of the photo ops. Half the time the men cover their genitals in a fig leaf pose, which is entirely unnecessary. But it looked like they had a good crowd there. Somebody will go to Wendy and, maybe talk a little sense into her, and she's going to realize that you're not there to poach people. You're there to help her.
But see, once again, I'm trying to promote commerce. That's my goal.
I know. I feel like we're in the horse is dead and we're whipping it, Brad. I think as we go into CWS block, crazy weird story block, I think we could talk about and be the fact that the Cottleville Weldon Spring Chamber of Commerce, you were there to not just promote the Westplex Chamber, but you're there to promote commerce, Brad. I think that we've gotten that point across.
Well, but see, once again, these crazy things. I'm an old guy. I'm 89, right? There's things that stuck with me for my entire life. And it's probably been 30 or 40 years ago. I heard this guy, a very famous historian. I can't remember his name anymore. He's probably dead by now.
He's so famous that we can't remember his name.
He's so famous we can't remember his name. He's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember his name. Okay, he said, all human interaction is essentially turf wars. And I'm going like, okay.
You mentioned this yesterday, Brad. You're right about that.
And
you're either fighting about territory or you're fighting over resources or women.
Right. Yeah. And if you're thinking about, if you're married, matter of fact, I watched this funny video this morning. I can't sleep at night anymore. I wake up at like 3 o'clock every morning now, which is crazy. But I watch videos, and I watch this really funny video, and I don't know if it was a prank or not. The guy gets his wife out in the street, and it's done in England, where he shows her that they refinanced their house. And what did he buy with the money when he refinanced his house? He bought a new Lamborghini, and she originally
hey, that's a good prank.
originally thinks it's a joke, and I don't know. It may not have been a joke. It may have been for real. But see, turf wars. Ask anybody who's married. Like for example, where does the husband usually end up? In the garage or the basement, right? Because the wife doesn't want him putting his fishing reels in the living room or anything like that. I mean,
you're right, and it's a great indicator for a man that he's lost control of the marriage.
Right.
And you know how I feel about man caves, right? Like, if you have a man cave, you don't run your house. Your wife has subjugated you to the basement.
Well,
and you should probably just start over again clean.
So and just like I told you the story, I met with the folks at KFUO about a signal issue we have. And I'm telling you, at one point in the meeting, I said to this guy, Gary Duncan, I'll mention his name, I said, Gary, I'm trying to promote the radio business. Put together a commercial for me to promote your radio stations, and I'll run it at my station. And he just physically sort of, cocked his head and moved back in his chair. He go, why would you do that? I go, because I want to help you. I want to help you. I want all radio stations. Matter of fact, the meeting I have on Tuesday, maybe I'll be able to talk about this afterward. I've been sworn to secrecy. That's what this is about. This is about meeting with a very important media dude here in St. Louis who avoided me for 2 months. And finally, when I called him yesterday, he said, don't call me back. And he calls me back within 10 minutes. And even when I talked to him on the phone yesterday, I said to him, we're screwing this up. This is not the way it should be. We should be cross-promoting each other. And he's going like, well, I don't know. But once again, I see these successful guys on YouTube who have these YouTube channels, and how do they get successful? They cross-promote each other. The Hoovies Garage guy gets Ed Bolian
Brad, I
on.
feel like you're just whistling Diesel right now. I feel like you're just whistling Diesel or whistling Dixie, one or the other.
Okay, I'll shut up. Okay, next, wait till we have what's coming up in C Block, and I won't go. Once again, it's more radio stuff. It's KDHX. And John, you read the article? Did I call this one or what?
I did not read the article. I just took it at face value that Brad was absolutely correct. So I will need you to recap that because I didn't read the article.